At this time, I would like to call to order the Yukon, Oklahoma City Council meeting for June 17th, 2014. And if you would rise with me for the invocation by Pastor Mark Borseth, Resurrection Lutheran Church, and the flag salute, please.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for those who serve us as leaders of our community, and pray your blessing upon our mayor and our council and our city staff, city employees today. Thank you for the gift of our community, and we pray for your continued blessings upon our communities, our families, our relationships, our businesses, our schools. Lord, guide the meeting tonight, and we thank you, God, for the gift of Yukon. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Smith.
Here.
McCarran.
Here.
Alberts.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Yonda.
Here.
This time is allowed for presentations and proclamations.
None to know.
Thank you. This is the visitors portion of our agenda. If there are any visitors here who would like to address the council on a non-agended item, please come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Rick Caccini, 1140 Landmark Drive, Yukon, Oklahoma. As the curator of the museum, I wanted to let you know that the museum is progressing with continued donations and artifacts and funds on a daily basis. Our one-year gala dinner is coming up, and tickets are on sale, $20 a piece, and they're very affordable. And these tickets can be gotten through me or any board member. I also wish to thank everyone for their continued support. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have any other visitors that would like to address the council on a non-agended item? Seeing none, we will recess as a Yukon City Council and reconvene as a Yukon Municipal Authority. Item 1A is a YMA consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so the Yukon Municipal Authority, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. If an item does not meet with the approval of all authority members, that item will be heard in regular order. The city manager recommends a motion to approve A, the minutes of the regular meeting of June 3rd, 2014, and B, payment of material claims in the amount of $151,241.69. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Having no discussion, call the roll, please.
Smith.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
McCarran.
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Yonda.
Yes.
At this time, we will adjourn as the YMA and reconvene as a Yukon City Council. Item 1 is a consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so the City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items that wish to be approved by one motion. If an item does not meet with the approval of all council members, that item will be heard in regular order. The city manager recommends a motion that will approve A, the minutes of the regular meeting of June 3rd, 2014. Payment of material claims in the amount of $665,305.72. C, designating the items on the attached list from the Technology Department as surplus and authorizing their sale, donation, or trade. D, accepting the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality permit number SL00009140,353 for the construction of approximately 1,460 linear feet of 8-inch sewer line and appurtenances to serve the City of Yukon Prairie West Boulevard Sewer Line Extension Project, Canadian County, Oklahoma. And E, accepting Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality permit number WL00009140,354 for the construction of approximately 15 linear feet of 6-inch, 190 linear feet of 8-inch, and 1,210 linear feet of 12-inch water lines and appurtenances to serve the City of Yukon Prairie West Boulevard Waterline Extension Project, Canadian County, Oklahoma. setting the date for the next regular council meeting for July 1st, 2014, 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the Centennial Building, 12 South 5th Street. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
Yonda,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Item 2 is reports of boards, commissions, and city officials.
None this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Item 3, discussion, consideration, and action regarding an appeal from D.E. Brower Jr. and Nikki Brower to rezone the northeast corner of Northwest 10th and Cornwell, 2525 South Cornwell, known as Lot 1, Block 1, Brower Law Office, from C1 Office District to C3 Restricted Commercial District, including a recommendation to deny by the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion?
I do. Is Mr. Brower here this evening?
Right.
And then just procedurally, so if we vote yes, we're denying,
No.
Yeah. If we vote yes, we're approving the rezoning of that
okay.
property.
So a yes vote rezones it.
Yes vote rezones it.
Okay.
Are we clear, Mr. Segler?
Yes, sir.
Thank
And
you.
that's the motion.
Is to approve.
The motion is to approve it right now. Okay.
Thank you. At this time, if it is comfortable with the rest of the council, I do see that Mr. Brower is here, and I do believe we have a couple of other citizens. I would like to hear from Mr. Brower. If you would please come forward and address the council. State your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager, and other guests. My name is D.E. Brower.
Mr. Brower, if you would. Yes.
A little bit closer.
Thank you.
My name is D.E. Brower. Nikki and my wife and I live at 1416 Spring Creek Drive, and we're here to appeal the Planning Commission's decision to deny our request from C1 to C3. And just a real brief of what we've done in the past. We bought this lot 11 years ago. It's the northeast corner of Northwest 10th and Cornwell. And I'm an attorney. I wanted to put a law office building there. We had 4 daughters, and I worked on it, architects, engineers, and then we realized our 4 daughters came first, so we put this on the back burner. So now 11 years has gone by. Last July, I saw that the land down 10th Street, they're trying to develop that. Across the street, my understanding, the property's been purchased. On Q is trying to go in there. The corner, caddy corner from our lot, that's vacant, but dirt has been put in there. That's zone C3. And then would be the northwest corner is zone C3. So,
Could I get a clarification, though? Actually, I don't need a clarification. I want to make a clarification. The 2 corners, southeast and southwest, are actually Oklahoma City lots.
yes, sir, they are. So I tried to, when we decided to try to develop this, we did have a realtor on it in July. We didn't relist the realtor, and I gave the realtor a letter stating that I wanted to try to develop the property myself, that I wasn't going to relist it. So I started working on developing it as far as looking at different ways to do it, going to trade shows, looking at different franchises, and there's nothing that I could really develop as a C1. I wasn't able to talk any of my daughters into going to law school, and I'm getting older, so I don't want to put a law office in there now. To develop it, what I'm asking for is for an office and retail, which would be C3. It's a very small lot. It's 0.69 acres. I think 1, maybe 2 small businesses. One of the things that I didn't cover in the planning commission, which it was the second time I've been there, was with their concerns, and one is traffic. And the very first meeting I had with Mr. Hort and his department, we talked about traffic, and we both agreed that anyone coming into my lot would have to make a right turn if they left. So that's an agreement with me. I want the traffic to flow smooth, and I think that's better for the city also. So that was more or less a condition that we understood. We both wanted that the traffic to turn right out of the lot. I tried to talk to the neighbors.
Mr. Brower, if I might,
Yes.
we're crowding the time that we are
Okay.
typically allowed for discussion. I would-
Okay, I'll end with it. So what I understand that I need to do, if the city allows me, I have to turn in a building permit, and the city has to approve it. I have to turn in a lighting plan, so my lighting does not get into my neighbors' yards. I have to turn in a plan for signage. I have to turn in a landscaping plan, and all of that has to be approved, and I'm ready to do that if the city will allow me. So I would respectfully request that I be allowed to change the zoning from C1 to C3.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Brower. Do we have other citizens here that would like to address this agenda item?
Yes, my name is Bob Oden. I live at 116 East Olympic. My wife and I, Margaret, have lived there for 25 years. That lot has been empty for 25 years or more. And as you can tell, I'm a little nervous. But my wife and I, or myself, I'm completely 100% object or don't want it to be rezoned. I do not want to live next to a business.
Well, if you don't mind my asking, because of, again, of time constraints, can you tell me what your concerns are of this
Well,
rezoning?
if it's rezoned C3, that means any business, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now, could go in there as a C3. One business could go out, it could just sit there forever. That's the main thing, plus the lighting and everything like that. But my wife, Margaret, will take over. Okay, thank y'all.
I'm Margaret Oden, and I just wanted to say, of course, we are opposed to a C3 zoning. C1, according to the city code, is created as an intention not to become an intrusion to residential district, but to serve as a buffer between residential and the more intensive commercial businesses. And C1, to me, is what it should remain, not go to C3 just because C3 is going across the street. I think C1 is the more appropriate zoning for this property based on the fact that it is adjacent to two residential lots, a small lot, and the purpose of the C1 is to serve as a buffer between the other C3s and our homes. Thank you.
Do we have any others that would like to address the council on this issue?
My name is Tom Dameron. I'm from 112 East Olympic Drive, which is a property directly north of DE's property. I'm opposed to the zoning change mainly for the same reason that it opens it to too many different types of businesses coming in there that you have no control over. The city has no control over. Nobody really does except DE or whoever purchases that property. Also lighting concerns, which he's addressed, and traffic concerns. I have some problems with that too. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else that would like to address council on this issue? Do we have any discussion from the council?
Can I hear from staff? Mitchell, did you have a report for the planning commission?
Are you asking if there was a staff report completed on this project?
Yes.
Yes, the city planner, Cindy, with, through Triad Johnson Associates, she had a recommendation of approving it,
Okay.
which is what the staff report was, because of the size, the location. The building basically would be restricted by setbacks and so forth. There's a 50 on the south side on 10th Street, there's a 50 on the west side on Cornwell, and for every foot of building height, they have to set 2 foot away from those adjacent properties. So if the building's 10 foot high, it has to set 20 foot from the north property line as well as the east property line.
And
I'm
it's,
so-
I'm sorry.
Did you say 20 feet
If it was 10 foot tall, it'd be 20 feet is what the requirement is.
from here to the wall?
That is correct from the adjoining property owners. That is a requirement. And of course, if the building gets higher than that, then it sets back.
What's the
2 foot.
maximum height that could go?
35 feet by ordinance, anything above 35 feet has to go to the Board of Adjustments for a variance, as well as any adjustments in those setbacks.
I have a question out of ignorance then.
Mhm.
If they have to be 35 feet from the north and east property lines, let's say it's 35 feet maximum, we have to assume that it's going to be maximum. We can't operate from minimums. We have to operate from maximums. A 3,000 square foot building, office type or restaurant type, would require a certain number of parking spaces.
That's correct. A restaurant requires 1 parking space per 100 square feet.
So if it's 3,000 square foot, it could require 30 parking
parking
spaces.
spaces, that's correct.
Has anyone looked at it to see that if it were a 35-foot building with 30 parking spaces, would there be room for those 30 parking spaces plus
Well,
egress and ingress?
Parking is not restricted by setbacks. So a 35-foot building, or say a 30-foot building, is 60 foot from both property lines. And I don't remember the distances, but I mean, that building's gonna get pretty small in a hurry if it's 30 foot tall.
Mm-hmm. Because of the square footage of the
Mm-hmm.
lot itself. I know, do we have any additional questions for
I do.
Mr. Hort?
So do you know the maximum amount of square footage that will go on the building, that will go on the lot?
I think he had it figured up at 3,000 square feet. I'm not for sure because we've looked at many different plans, different layouts. So,
So the
Mr. Briarwood could tell you what he figured out for that.
And staff was satisfied with that size of building, traffic flow,
Well, of course, the building, depending on the building that he brings in, he was just working with concepts.
right?
We're gonna look at the height of the building and the setbacks are gonna be adjusted to fit that building. Because it may be that it's a 20-foot building they bring in, 20 foot tall. It depends on the type used, the type building. You know, all businesses have different prototypes if they're national type chains.
What national chain is gonna
I
put a
I
building
don't
on
know, but I mean, you know,
0.69 acres? I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
I,
how much, can I get an idea of how much of the property is left? If you take, let's just say it's a 20-foot building
mhm.
and you have to back, what would that be, a 40-foot from the back then?
20.
Be 40.
Uh,
It'd be 40. You should
Yeah,
have a plot plan in your packet that shows the building lines,
Yeah, mine was.
ingress and
It was
egress.
kind of muffied in the,
Okay.
and I couldn't really read the square footage of how much, but it didn't look like there was an extraordinary amount of property left unless you did, you know, unless it was like some type of, you know, office or dental office or real estate or something like that.
I'm sorry,
So-
can I ask another question also?
Okay.
I guess I may have misunderstood in what I read and what I just heard. If the building is 20 feet high, they need a 40-foot cushion
Yes,
between
2 to 1.
themselves and the neighboring property line?
That's correct. And that
Okay,
would be
thank you.
on the north side and east side because it adjoins
And then-
residential on both
And then
sides.
there's 50-foot out to each street, is that correct?
There's a 50-foot building line on the south side and the west side. So that building gets pretty small depending on the configuration of it.
Could there be parking on that 50 feet?
Yes. Up to the property line. of course, they're gonna have to provide detention as well and landscaping for that.
Do we have other questions? I do. I know in our research, can I mention the name of the sandwich shop that was mentioned in our preparatory? Mr. Segler? We had, in our preparatory information, there was actually a sandwich shop's name mentioned. Am I allowed to mention that?
If it was in the material that was published, it's public record.
Okay, there was a sandwich shop, the type of City Bites. So my question is, and probably my biggest issue or concern is, let's say that this sandwich shop moves in on this property. If you're going east on 10th Street, you have to make a left turn in a very short distance from the intersection in order to enter the property. If you're going south on Cornwell, you have to make a left turn across 2 lanes of traffic in a very short distance. Exiting, I suppose, probably wouldn't be as big an issue because you have maybe a little bit more option. But I think if I have any concern, based on the description in the preparatory information that we were provided, that's my concern. So am I missing something? Is there some other available entrance or
No.
exit from that
The two
property?
that you are talking about, the one on 10th Street and the one on Cornwall, is the only two ingress and egress that it would have.
Okay.
And I guess I have a short question, is about if that were to come up for sale later on, let's say we did put something in there that was acceptable and it was okay and everything else, it would still be C3, it could still be torn down, and obviously anything else could be put in there, is that
Well,
correct?
that is true, but at the same time, any C1 use could come and go as well if it stays at C1.
Well, and I believe also, if I might add something here, even if we were to approve the rezoning to C3 because of the lot size, it's pretty restrictive, let alone the deed restrictions. It's pretty restrictive as far as what kind of business could be allowed there. Is that right?
The
least-
size of the business would be restricted by the setbacks, if that's what you're talking about.
It is. It is.
Was there not also something I read in there about a deed restriction about a gas station or?
Those
Something like
restrictions,
that.
I think, time out pretty quick, 5-6 years. But the deed restriction is something the city does not enforce. We only enforce our ordinance. So any deed restrictions is restricted by him and whoever he was assigned that from.
But I'm trying to get it straight in my mind here, in the sense that if we rezoned it C3,
Mhm.
okay, and they went ahead and Mr. Brower put in something there that's acceptable and everything else, and then after 5 years, if he left and sold the property, then in point of fact, a gas station could come in there and move in, is that correct?
Any C3 use that's allowed by the ordinance would be allowed, only restricted by the size of the lot, setbacks.
And based on the size of the lot, to your best knowledge, a convenience store type gas station would fit on that lot?
We've not looked at that scenario, but anything is possible. I would think commercially it wouldn't be viable. I mean, the size and the conflicts of traffic to get in and out would be a big issue.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Hort? Thank you. Do we have any additional discussion? Having no additional discussion, call the roll, please.
Yonda,
No.
Smith,
No.
McCarron,
No.
Alberts. Yes. Russell.
No.
Item 4 is consider approving a fee in lieu of detention in the amount of $500 for Life Church as recommended by the city engineer. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion?
We had some information about this previously, Robbie. You wanna comment on that?
I don't know what information you had. What they're doing is they're adding 39 parking spaces along their north property line. As far as I know, they don't have any additional land to construct any more parking. They would have to purchase property. So that's why I made the comment that any future expansion would require detention.
So what you're saying is the 39 that's there right now would not require any additional detention, and that in lieu of that,
That's correct.
okay?
Do we have any additional discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
Smith,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Item 5 is consider approving resolution number 2014-09, a resolution of the City of Yukon, Oklahoma, authorizing entering into an interlocal cooperative agreement for municipal court jurisdiction concerning juveniles. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
Item 6 is consider approving ordinance number 1298, an ordinance which provides amendment to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Yukon, Oklahoma by adding a section prohibiting the possession and/or use of tobacco products and electronic smoke devices in certain public buildings and on certain properties, public properties. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? I have a quick question. It says smoke devices in certain public buildings and on certain public properties. Is there any reason that doesn't read all public buildings and all public properties?
The title says certain, but the body of it is all.
Okay, so that means that all city property,
All city.
regardless of the word certain, it still means all. Let me look back and see if I miss something here.
Do we need to amend this?
No,
Uh,
no.
The body of the ordinance says all, this amendment says certain.
The title does.
Title is, okay, I gotcha. All right, do we have any further discussion?
I just have a question. Grayson or Mike, someone, so what's the effect of this new ordinance on the typical park goer who smokes?
It is specifically addressed in the ordinance that a person that would choose to light up and/or dip or choose an electronic smoke device would be asked to extinguish and dispose of that tobacco product, as well as if they do not choose to obey, they would then be fined as well as removed from the property.
And
If-
who would enforce it?
Police officers.
The police officer?
Police officer.
I do want to clarify something too. All city property would be non-smoking, okay? But public areas, not city-owned, certain of those would be non-smoking, okay? A restaurant, for example, is non-smoking unless you make certain provisions for it, okay? Legions and posts are allowed to have smoking in their open public areas. So I guess that when you ask me about city-owned, that's where the confusion might have come in, because there are
Understand.
exemptions for certain specific times and uses.
Parking lots, for example, are public property.
Streets.
Okay.
Correct.
And I think, am I correct, or incorrect in understanding that the ordinance previously, I mean, the only change in what we're doing here is adding the electronic devices.
Pretty much.
Do we have any further discussion? No further discussion, call the roll, please.
McCarron,
Yes,
Yonda,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Item
6A.
Item 6A, consider approving the emergency clause of the ordinance of number 1298.
Move the emergency.
Thank you.
second,
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Yonda,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
McCarron,
yes,
Russell,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Item 7 is consider approving resolution number 2014-10, a resolution establishing a format and rules of order for the conduct of city council meetings and repealing conflicting resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion?
I'd like to say I think it's a great idea. I think that giving the citizens access to the council on all type of items, whether they're here to participate on an item or they're just here as a concerned citizen, I think by them having a set of rules that that they can follow in order to have access to them, I think helps the citizens. I think it could be a great a benefit to the community.
I guess, how are we going to, implement that here, you know, is it exactly,
Well,
Included in your information were the exact documents that will be at the back of the room,
and we'll have somebody back there?
and they will also be available in City Hall in advance of the meeting. Also, it includes in your resolution this evening, the procedure for how those are to be delivered and who they are to be delivered to.
Well, I was just thinking, if somebody shows up on a given evening, you know,
What's-
how will
They'll
they
be
get
in the
them?
back.
And they-
and if I might, I mean, much like anyone that walks into our city council meetings, the agendas for
Are
that
in the
meeting
back, yeah.
are in the back, not only posted on the window, but they can pick them up in the back, and that's where these documents also will be found. And I personally would like to give kudos to our city staff for working so hard to iron out the details. And I believe that's going to give everybody a fair opportunity to have something to say on an agended or non-agended item on our, during our city council meetings. And I think it's going to be of great benefit to us as councilmen to be able to make the decisions that our constituents would like us to make, and an opportunity for our constituents to be able to place themselves before the council to show their concerns and share the concerns.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
our councilman, Siegler down there, I want to make sure that, so you're really comfortable with this resolution as is, and that,
Yes,
and that
sir.
it won't violate the Open Meetings Act? or anything
No,
like
it
that with
won't. The city manager and I have had discussions regarding this issue for a number of months now,
Right,
and it was constructed, the document was constructed, I reviewed it, and I'm very comfortable with it. There's a
Okay.
lot of communities that use this procedure.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any further discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
McCarron,
Yes,
Alberts,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes. Item 8 is to consider awarding the contract for year 12 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Small Cities Set-Aside Roadway Replacement Project to Bishop Paving Company in the amount of $107,000 as recommended by the city engineer.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
Russell,
Yes.
McCarron,
yes,
Alberts,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Item 9, consider selecting a Yukon City Council representative for the Chamber Board of Directors for the term of July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. Do we have a nomination?
I nominate Mike McCarron.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion, Mike?
No, I'm good.
I would just say that I'm quite happy with the job Mike has done over the last year, and I'm sure that he's gonna do an equally as good job over the next year.
I've scared everybody on the Chamber of Commerce.
That being,
After
that being said, call the roll, please.
Alberts,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Yonda.
Yes.
Item 10, consider approving the mayor's nomination of a Yukon City Council representative for the Yukon Economic Development Authority, trustee number 2, for the term of July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2020. And my nomination is Councilman Alberts, who has served for the past, well, since the inception of YEDA. He's done a fine job, and I would like to see him represent YEDA for another year.
second,
Do I have any discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
Yonda,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McCarron,
yes,
Alberts.
Yes.
Item 11 is consider approving a conditional use permit for Dean Walker for a manufactured home on his property located at 7600 North Cimarron Road as recommended by the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Do we have any discussion? Having none, call the roll, please.
Smith,
Yes.
McCarron,
yes,
Russell,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
Yonda.
Yes.
Item 12 is our city manager's report. These are information items only.
First report this evening is to finish the reporting of sales tax for the year, for the budget year. We actually were up for the month over last year, month to month over last year by 7.52%. Also, that brought our collections for the year cumulative to 5.18%. I would also hasten to point out that that included a $290,000 deduction from our collections for the period of January the 8th through December, January 2008 through December 2010. So all in all, we had a really good sales tax collection year, and we anticipate an even better year moving forward. Very quickly, I don't want to belabor this, but we have concerts in the park. They began last Thursday with Smilin' Vic and the Soul Monkeys, as well as the movie Beethoven, to highlight Bark in the Park. We will have an additional 3 more movies, as well as concerts ranging every Thursday night throughout the summer. We also have Friday Fun Days there at lots of different parks across the city. And it's never too early to start talking about Freedom Fest. The Veterans celebration will occur on the 3rd, Thursday, the 3rd of July, and Friday the 4th will be Freedom Fest. It continues to grow and be well accepted across our community, and it's something you really don't want to miss. You will be minus, I think we have somewhere between 35 and 40,000 people that show up to watch fireworks that evening all across the city. But we're very happy to do it. It's going to be a great event again this year. I can tell you that I counted up this evening the members of my family that will be attending from California and outside of Yukon, and I only have 20 people coming as part of my family to view the fireworks on July the 4th. That tells you how many tickets I'm going to need for for the evening. But it's a great event. Very glad to do it. I stand ready for your questions, Mayor.
Do we have any questions for our city manager? Having no questions, item 13, new business.
No new business tonight, Mr. Mayor.
No new business. Item 14 is council discussion. Councilman McCarron?
It's been a good year so far. I was privileged to go over, as we had a little picture this evening from the Hobby Lobby opening. I think it's simply an earmark of a lot of good things to come in town. I'm really kind of enjoying this. I already feel my wallet getting smaller as
Mine too.
my wife is a large proponent of Hobby Lobby. The surplus equipment, I think I'm gonna put out a kudo to Gary and the guys, that has gone extremely well. For years and years and years, we just, threw stuff away in the garbage and didn't really try to reclaim anything, and certainly efforts have gone forth there have been very exemplary, and I appreciate Gary's efforts along with all of the other staff that have turned the stuff over to them for resale to at least get a few bucks back that we can use for other things. Beyond that, I'm looking forward to 4th of July as well, and Mayor, that's my comments.
Thank you, Mr. McCarron. Councilman Russell?
Yes, I agree. We're living in a really, really neat time here in the city of Yukon with all the development that's coming in, Hobby Lobby, Kirkland's, all the hope that we have with the new area coming in. It's really, really a neat time to be in Yukon. And I live in Ward 1, and I just can't tell you how many people I get every day calling me, telling me about the splash pad. That just has to be one of the biggest hits that's hit in a long time. Really, really neat. That's all for me.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Yonda?
Well, I'm too excited about the growth we've seen in Yukon, and I think the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Councilman Alberts?
Nothing this evening.
I'm sorry, did I hit my head?
Hey, Rick. How about Yukon? Ain't it a great place to live?
I'm sorry I started that, by the way, for the record, Mr. Clerk. Really, I would just like to remind everybody that we are going into the summer months. Oh, no, my iPad just went to sleep. We're going into the summer months. It's getting very hot. We've been blessed with some rainfall, and I'm thankful to have it, but let's remember that we are on an odd, even water rationing. Please keep that in mind. Please do not drain your pools into the city streets, which I actually saw a neighbor do a couple of weeks ago. Let's be conscious about our environment. And at this time, item 15, I would consider a motion to recess as the Yukon City Council and convene into executive session for discussing the purchase and or appraisal of real property as provided in 25 OS 2003, Section 307B3, and for discussing a pending action or litigation as provided in 25 OS 2003, Section 307B4. I would entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. I think also I would like to invite our city manager and city attorney into this executive session. All right, thank you. This time we'll adjourn into executive session.
We need to vote on this.
Oh, we do? I'm sorry. Call the roll, please.
Russell,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
McCarron,
Yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Alberts.
Yes.
At this time we'll adjourn into executive session.
You got it back? Okay. And then adjourn the meeting.
This time I would consider a motion to adjourn from executive session and reconvene as a Yukon City Council.
So move.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? No discussion?
Yeah.
I will now read the minutes from the executive session. While in executive session, only the items on the agenda were discussed, no action was taken, and no votes were cast. Call the roll, please. We don't,
We have a motion.
Yeah,
yeah, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
McCarron,
yes.
Yonda,
Yes.
Alberts,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Item 17, we are now adjourned.